Hi guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing another recent reads, and honestly a lot of these books were just fine. I don't know if I'm just having a really mediocre reading year this year or if I'm just being more critical, but nothing has really been blowing me away this year. Like these books that I'm going to be talking about today, like I said, they were fine. I have a 2-star that I just don't know what the heck that was. One of my 3 stars, I'm actually kind of disappointed that I even had to rate it a 3 stars just because the books that I've been reading in that series have just been really stand out. And then the 4-star that I do have to talk about, it really started off kind of mediocre, so I'm even surprised that it got up to a 4-star. Like I'm just, kind of disappointed by some of the things that I have been reading this year, but yeah, these were just fine. So we'll talk about it more. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. So the first book that I'm going to start off with is The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. This is a young adult horror. So in this one, we are following our main character by the name of Mars. And in this one, his sister Caroline has passed away. And before she passed away, she was attending this really, I guess we can call it like prestigious summer camp, and Mars used to go there, but due to some circumstances that took place, he no longer attends. But because Caroline has passed away, he decides that he wants to go back to figure out what happened to her to cause her to pass away. Now, Mars is gender fluid, and when he goes back, he doesn't receive the warmest welcome, and so he endures some bullying, and we follow Mars as he gets in good with the group that Caroline was involved with, which they are called the Honeys. We are literally just watching Mars as he tries to get in good with the Honeys, and he is just attending these summer camp activities trying to figure out what happened to his sister Caroline. I ended up giving this one a 2 stars, and the reason why I rated this a 2 stars is because 1, there wasn't much horror that was happening in this book. 2, all we're literally doing is just watching Mars do summer camp activities for a majority of this book. And 3, I did not know what the heck was going on in this story. He's supposed to be trying to figure out what happened with Caroline, and the book is called The Honeys, but we don't even really figure out what the Honeys are until well over halfway through the story. And by the time we even figure out what the heck they are and what they're doing and the significance of the Honeys, I was confused. I did not understand the purpose or what it is they're doing at all. All I got is it has something to do with bees, I think. And I was extremely bored. And by the time we got to the end of this, I just wanted it to be over. The only reason why I even bumped it up from a 1 star, like I really wanted to give it to a 2 star, is because I did enjoy the character of Mars. Like I said, he was gender fluid, and when he got to the camp, he did experience a little bit of bullying, but I love that he just stayed true to himself. He didn't back down from the people who bullied him. I like that he had a really sarcastic personality, and I liked how he would make people feel kind of uncomfortable with the jokes that he would tell. I just really liked him as a character, and for that, Mars alone was able to bump this up an extra star. I do also think that this had a really good audiobook. There was a lot of sound effects and whatnot, but I just don't think that the audiobook alone could save this book, especially because I think that the quote-unquote horror elements that this tried to have in there, it tried to incorporate it into the audiobook, but it still wasn't horror enough because I didn't understand what was going on. So if I don't understand what's going on, how could it be scary? Does it make sense? But yeah, I could not get on board with this. I just didn't understand what this was, what it was trying to do. I think at the end of it, it tried to get like really lyrical, but even that didn't make sense to me because I don't understand what you're trying to say. I didn't like this. And by the end, like I said, I just wanted this to be over. So 2 stars is what I ended up giving this. The next one that I have here is The Spite House by Johnny Compton, and this is a adult horror. This one follows our main character by the name of Eric. And at the beginning of this one, he is on the run with his 2 daughters. He has his younger daughter by the name of Stacy and his older daughter by the name of Des. And they find themselves in Texas. not only do they find themselves in Texas, but they find themselves at the most haunted house in Texas, and he is there for work. And the house is owned by this woman named Eunice, and the job that he has at this really haunted house is to determine whether or not the house is indeed haunted. And so we follow Eric as he lives there with his daughters, trying to determine whether or not this house is haunted. So I ended up rating this one a 3 stars. I have some thoughts. So I gave this one a 3 stars because I just felt like there was a lot going on, and there probably didn't need to be so much going on for this short book. And this book is less than 300 pages, but it felt so long. I feel like that's the theme with quite a few books that I've been reading lately. These short books just feel like it's taking so long to get through. So there are a lot of perspectives in here. That actually was not a problem for me, but I could see where it could be a problem for a lot of other people, but I actually like that in here. I mentioned that this is supposed to be a horror book, but I felt the horror was lacking. We are supposed to be in a haunted house, the most haunted house in Texas, but I didn't feel that the house was really haunted. There were moments where I see that the author was trying to make you feel like something was happening, but it just didn't feel that way to me. And a lot of the backstories that we got in here, so the reasons why Eric and his daughters were on the run from where they were living, the reasons why Eunice was needing somebody to figure out whether or not, you know, this house was haunted, the backstory on the Spite House itself. I just felt like all of that at a certain point just felt really convoluted, and we were giving too much information. And I just, at times, it just felt like we didn't need all of that, and the stories could have been simplified, and we could have got so much more with so much less, if that makes sense. But I could appreciate the things that this author was trying to do, and I did like Eric as a character and how much he loved his daughters, and what he was doing was for the sake of his daughters. And I did like the perspectives of his 2 daughters, Des and Stacy. But one of the things also that I didn't really care for was being able to find out the twist. And the only reason why I think that you could possibly find out the twist so early on is because the author gave you so much information to be able to find out the twist. And I just wish that maybe if the author didn't give us so much so early on, the twist that was quote unquote revealed near the end would have had a bigger impact. Overall, I mean, there were some things that I liked, some things that I didn't like. This was a debut novel from this author, so if they end up publishing something again, I would definitely try and pick it up. So then the next one that I picked up is Darling Rose Gold by the author Stephanie Warble. And this is a adult mystery. And so this one is heavily inspired by the true life case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. And if you are unfamiliar with this case, so Dee Dee was diagnosed with Munchausen syndrome, which is she was purposely making her daughter Gypsy Rose sick so that I guess she would get sympathy from other people, and she was getting all these benefits and donations, and she did that for a really, really long time. And Gypsy Rose decided that she was tired of that, and she found this boyfriend online, and her boyfriend and Gypsy had this plan to kill Dee Dee. They went through with it. Dee Dee was murdered, and the boyfriend and Gypsy Rose were convicted and put in jail. This was a really popular case, and there was even a TV show on Hulu called The Act, which I watched the first few episodes. It was really good. I don't know why I never finished it, but yeah, so this book is really heavily inspired by that. So we follow our main character, Rose Gold, and her mother, Patty, did the exact same thing where she was making Rose Gold sick for the first few years of her life. So from the time she was born till I think she was like teenage years, somewhere in her teenage years. And Patty ends up getting convicted for it. And so while she's in jail, Rose Gold is contemplating on whether or not she wants to keep in contact with her mother. And so this is told in different perspectives. So we get Rose Gold's perspectives, and then we get the perspective from Patty, but it's also told in different timelines. So in Patty's timeline is told in the present, and then in Rose Gold's timeline is told in the past. So in the present, Patty is getting released from jail, and in the past, it's Rose Gold is leading up to Patty's release from jail. So Patty is getting released from jail, and she's actually getting released into Rose Gold's custody. So she's going to be living with her daughter again, which a lot of people think this is crazy because she was technically abusing Rose Gold for all of these years, and people are like, why would you want to live with your mother when she was making you sick? And people think this is insane, but Rose Gold has been planning something ever since her mom was in jail. So we are basically following what happens as Rose Gold and Patty live together after she has been released from jail, and then we are seeing what happened to Rose Gold during the time her mother was locked up and the things that she was planning while her mom was locked up. So this was really interesting. I did give this one 3 stars. Not technically that anything was wrong with it, but it just didn't necessarily leave a lasting impression. But I did enjoy this one. In this one, you would inherently think that, oh my gosh, Patty is this terrible mother. She is. But you also have to remember that Rose Gold is this woman's child. So things tend to rub off on the child. Throughout this story, you start to second guess, or you start to kind of like side eye Rose Gold because she starts to have those same traits as her mother, the same things that Patty did to Rose Gold, and the manipulations and the way that she treated Rose Gold. You start to see how Rose Gold treats other people just like that. So I did enjoy this while I was reading it, but it was like one of those things that, like, after you read it, it kind of like leaves your mind. But this is one of those ones that I would recommend because it was very interesting while I was reading it, because you would think that you would feel bad for one person and hate another one, but you would definitely question both people after reading this one. So then I picked up One to Watch by Kate Stayman London. This is a adult romance. And so I went into this one with a little bit of hesitation. I've had this on my shelf forever. I almost forgot that I had this one, but I needed something to listen to on audio, and I came across this one. So the reason why I was a little hesitant going into this one is because this is about a plus size character. Some of the reviews that I have read on Goodreads said that they were not really happy with the plus size rep in this, but I had different thoughts about this after listening to it. So we follow our main character B, who is a plus size fashion blogger, and she ends up having a post go viral after she was blogging about this show called The Main Squeeze and how she didn't like the representation on the show. Main Squeeze is kind of a dupe on the show The Bachelor. And so because her post went viral, the executive producer reached out to B, asking her if she would like to be the next contestant on Main Squeeze. And they decide that B would be a great fit, especially because they are trying to get their ratings up. And B reluctantly decides to go on there. She's going to be their first plus size contestant on there. And because she's their first plus size person on there, there's a lot of backlash from people on like social media and through all the forums. And then a couple of the guys that go on there looking for love aren't really happy with the person that they chose. So it's this whole big thing. So the book is literally us following B as she is on this show, Main Squeeze, and these guys are vying for her love, and we watch her as she starts off as this really insecure girl on this show, and then she slowly has to start to open up and become vulnerable to looking for love. I rated this one 3 stars. I could see where people did not agree with like the plus size representation, but not to the extent where people didn't really agree with it. There were a few stereotypes in here that I could see. One of the examples that I can think of off the top of my head was like she was ordering some groceries, but like all of the groceries she was ordering were like unhealthy stuff, and that's really a huge stigma on plus size people, is that all plus size people eat unhealthy, and that's not necessarily true. But this didn't have a lot of negative things that would make me not like this book, because I really liked the character of B and how she was so insecure about her body type throughout her process on the show, and how she really had to get out of her own head, and she had to stop thinking so negatively about her body, and she had to stop thinking that that was how everybody else saw her, and really open up and become vulnerable and let people in to let them love her. And so I really liked her character development over the course of this story. And then I liked that this was based off of the show The Bachelor / The Bachelorette, because I do enjoy that show from time to time. And I liked how each like chapter or section of the show was an episode of the show. And so every time that we got to a new episode, men were eliminated. And so this book had a lot of mixed media. So there were like emails, blog posts, text messages, forums. So the best way that I think that people should pick this up if they are interested in it would be audio, because of all of that mixed media. So I really liked that. I was not a fan of the guys that were after her heart, I guess. None of them really struck a chord with me. Even the guy that she ended up choosing at the end, I didn't really care for any of them. So, I mean, yeah. I know that there was some diversity within the guys that she chose. I know there was like another plus size guy. There was a black guy. There was one guy that was asexual. So, I mean, not only was she a plus size contestant, but there was some diversity, you know, within the contestants that were after her. So, I mean, overall, I did enjoy this. It was not perfect, but it was entertaining. I love the drama behind the scenes. I love seeing behind the scenes of how the show was put together. So overall, I mean, I had a fun time with this, and I would recommend it. So the next one that I read is The Death of Dulgath by Michael J. Sullivan. This is a adult fantasy. This is the 3rd book in the Rhaeria Chronicles. Yes. So this one, again, we're following Hadrian and Royce. These are my guys, and they are on yet another mission. So they are being sent to this town called Marinon to basically, I guess, help prevent a murder, the murder of a woman by the name of Lady Dulgath. And so basically what they're supposed to do is figure out how someone would kill her and then report it to these group of men. And then they get paid for that, and then they can leave. Weird, I know. And so while they're there, Royce and Lady Dulgath actually get close and get to chatting, and then she starts telling him some things about himself that he was unaware of. Hadrian ends up getting close to a woman there, and of course they just, if you're familiar with Hadrian and Royce, they just get into all kinds of trouble, and the story just kind of takes off from there. I rated this one 3 stars. And this is the one where I mentioned in the beginning where I was kind of disappointed that I rated this one 3 stars, because anything that I have read from Michael J. Sullivan, whether it was from this series or the series that I have read from him before, I have rated at least a 4 stars and above. So this one, I was really sad that I only gave it a 3 stars. But I just wasn't fully invested in this story like I wanted to be. Usually in Michael J. Sullivan's books, there's always a point in the story where something in it will grab me and then I just cannot put it down. But for whatever reason, in this one, I never got to that point. I never got to a page in here, a chapter in here where something fully hooked me and I just couldn't put it down. But I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed, of course, Hadrian and Royce and their banter back and forth. But in this one, they weren't really together as often, and maybe that was the problem. We learned a lot about, I forgot his name, Royce. We learned a lot about Royce. He learned a lot about himself. He learned that there are people in his life that he does trust and he does love, which was a shock to his system. Hadrian actually found someone that he could potentially really like, almost love. And Hadrian really infuriated me in this story for the first time, because he was making a lot of dumb decisions, and maybe that was just because Royce wasn't around as much as he needed to be. So it just goes to show that they really feed off of one another, and Hadrian needs Royce more than Hadrian realizes. I also liked the mystery surrounding Lady Dulgath and what was really going on with her and why they needed Hadrian and Royce there in the first place. But like I said, I still really enjoyed this one. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I liked the other 2 books in the series thus far. But I have one more book to go, which I can't wait to get to. But yeah, still enjoyed it. So then the last one that I want to talk about is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. And this is a adult mystery thriller, probably more on the thriller side. But this one follows our main character by the name of Naomi. And when she was, I think, around 11 years old, her and her 2 best friends, Cassidy and Olivia, they were in the woods and Naomi was brutally attacked. She was stabbed 17 times, but she survived. And the girls let authorities know what happened, but they lied about it. And so now, over 20 years later, Olivia lets them know, like, hey, I want to tell what really happened. And then all of a sudden, Olivia goes missing. And now Naomi wants to figure out what really happened that day in the woods, because her memory is a little foggy on what happened, because obviously she was the one that got attacked, and Cassidy is a little hesitant on trying to tell the truth of what happened that day in the woods. And so we are following the 2 girls as they are trying to figure out what happened to Olivia, and as these secrets are slowly revealed. So I gave this one a 4 stars. So this actually started off really slow for me. And I'm not gonna lie, I almost DNF'd this one because some things were slowly revealed and I was starting to kind of question, I don't understand why these girls were lying in the first place. This is kind of dumb. But then as more and more things started to happen and we started to get more information, I was slowly pulled into the story. And then at a certain point in this, I just could not put this down. I really felt bad for the character of Naomi because she went through a very traumatic experience, you know, being attacked and stabbed 17 times. And then you have these people in this community where you grew up, where you think that you can trust people, but now all of a sudden as things are getting revealed, you realize you can trust no one. So I like I said, I felt really bad for her, but I liked how this author made you second guess everybody that you thought that you could trust. But I was able to figure out a couple of things in here, but like I said, there were times where I kind of went back and forth with whether I was right, whether I was wrong, and I really liked that. And the last third of this book was super fast paced. It went in a direction I was not expecting it to go. And I like that too. So for that, I had to give this one a 4 stars, and this one I highly recommend. I think maybe out of the reviews that I've seen, I was the only one that thought this had a slow start. But if you were like me and you think that this had a slow start, or you think maybe this might not be the book for me, I would say give it a little bit more time, because it definitely picks up, and it was well worth it. So I really enjoyed this one. So that is all that I have for you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.